Okay. So Krishna's answer here is how a person's the consciousness will be revived. So please understand that we do not mature according to the age in spiritual practice. Okay, we actually pick up the spiritual practices, we get inclinations, or we get that attracted based on our previous janmas or previous lives, the abhyasa or the spiritual practices we had. Okay, so that's why if you see in the society, a very young boy gets attracted very easily if they just get a connection. Okay, and sometimes people, even if they are very old, they are matured enough and they would have gone through so much in life, yet if they are introduced to Krishna consciousness or spiritual practices, they still decline. They decline to come to this awareness. They deny, and they have their own concepts of life because of the previous karmas. Karmas as in previous lives they would have not practiced. Okay, so one typical example is the example of King Bharata. Bharata Maharaj, we have heard a lot of many times about this story, but I don't want to get into the story. But if you see these occasions or the opportunities which is received, it is very rare. Not everybody can remember their previous lives. But in the case of King Bharata, just for the sake of Bhagavatam, so his case study has been presented by Shukadeva Goswami. And Sutta Goswami is explaining about what happens in his lifetime. 3 lives, he remembers everything. We can't even remember many things what happened in our childhood also. And it's definitely not possible for us to remember even the previous lives also. But in the modern technology and the science, there are cases where the doctors have experimented and have done more than many case studies where they were able to meet people, the clinical studies they have done, where people are able to remember their previous lives. So when I say clinical studies, there's one particular doctor in US who has done more than 3,000 case studies on two things. In scientific term, so in clinical terms, they call it as NDE or near-death experience, and another is called as OBE, out of the body experience. Okay, these are very famous in the Western research work which they have done. So near-death experience is nothing but people, due to some reason, they die, as in they lose their consciousness. They think they are almost dead. So in the hospital, these case studies were done. So where they experienced that they went through a particular tunnel or a channel. So they went through that, and some people they experienced their previous activities. So when they were dead, so they were experiencing everything what happened, the important moments in their life, and then they are able to tell the doctor. They come back to the consciousness, but here the pulses, the heartbeat, everything had stopped. They thought that the person is dead, but again it got revived. Sorry. So these kind of studies, and it varies one case to another case, one patient to another patient. So these were experienced. Okay, this was a remarkable research which was done by the doctors. So that to mention that they do not accept as doctors as a soul, but they term it as consciousness. That is how in clinical terminology they say. So the person is conscious or not conscious, they're slipping into coma. Okay, so these patients they went into these state of being, and they came back. Okay, not everyone were old. There were some young people also who experienced it. So those were presented, and there are numerous books mentioned about this. So that is one thing. And also OBE, which I was mentioning, out of the body experience. Some people just went out of the body during the clinical surgeries which were happening. It may be accident victims. There may be a case of suicidal cases. So there are various things. So people actually saw themselves out of the body, and these doctors operating on them. Okay, so that is called as out of the body experience. So that means there is something which is coming out of the body, and it is able to see, and it is able to remember. Okay, and they come back to the same body which they are living. So these are the two things which are called as in the clinical terms, and there are a lot of cases being presented. So here we are talking about a person who is taking birth again in human form. So Krishna is talking about how he takes birth again. Of course, in the previous sloka it was mentioned that one will take either in the rich family or a family of a spiritual pious people. Okay, there are two possibilities. Why he mentions this is if you are born in a rich family, you don't have to struggle, worry about the daily necessities, which we are going through. We have to earn money to take care of the house. We have to struggle hard to take care of our children. We need money to survive. But the rich people, they just have servants, they have everything, they don't have to take care. So aristocratic families, they are born, and second thing is the Brahmanas. He mentions about the Brahmanas. Brahmanas means not by Jati I'm talking about. The Brahmanas means the one who are born in the pious family, because they get the advantage of getting reconnected to the spiritual practices. There are advantages and disadvantages to both the births. Okay, advantages, of course, we get connected again. You don't have to go through the trouble. But disadvantages, because of the the opportunity, the chance given, uh, sometimes people might lose. If you're too rich, you're too proud, you're too arrogant. You just don't want to live the life of a ascetic or a yogi, and you just want to enjoy the life. These are the problems which will occur. So these are the hindrances to spiritual practices. Those who are born rich with aristocracy, good country, good birth, good parents, because of their previous good karmas only they get this birth. Somebody who's poor, who's ugly, who's not so sophisticated in their life, because of the previous karmas. Okay, so based on our karmas or our actions only, we get these kind of activities in present life. Okay. Now, since you're fortunate that we are all fortunate that we have come to Krishna consciousness, we are able to practice in this life. Okay. Even we are able to get connected, we are able to hear, we are able to go to the temple. This is because of our previous practices, without which we would have not come here, and we would have not get connected to, Srila Prabhupada. That is very, very big advantage what we have received. So we have to take advantage of this moment, and we have to take advantage of this opportunity which has been received, and we have to continue our practices. In fact, Srila Prabhupada says that one who is very, very serious in this life, this is during a conversation he tells that one who is very, very serious in this life in Krishna consciousness, his practices, so he definitely goes back to Godhead in this life itself. Or if he's not so much serious and he just practices just for the sake of just being connected, there are, we might not be much serious in our practices. We're just hanging around. So we take 3 births. He mentions this. So that means 3 janmas, and how long it will take, we don't know. So that is hindrances. What are there? The shortcomings, I can say. So sometimes we might go to, because of all the activities we are doing in Krishna consciousness, and if we fail, we might go to the heavenly bodies. Now, heavenly bodies are much more greater than what we are living here. They live for a longer time compared to Earth. Okay. And again, we have to come back to Earth to take birth to start our spiritual practices. Just like you get your bank account credited, say, I'll credit 1 crore in your account. So you'll not go to work because you have so much of money. Okay. You have so much of money and you don't work and you just enjoy that money, living happily. Once it's exhausted, you'll think about, oh, I have to work, I have to earn money, I have to take care of my things. Okay. So similarly, one who has got very pious deeds, he's very good in his previous life, he gets a birth in the heavenly planets. And there you exhaust the entire credit and you have to return back to the Karma Bhumi, which is called the Bharatavarsha. We are living one of the planet, Bharata Bhumi. Okay, so that is the disadvantage. So please understand that we are living in a realm or a platform where you have to do actions to enjoy the results. Okay, so that's why it is called as Karma Bhumi. Everywhere. Bharatavarsha is the, if you study the Bhagavatam 5th canto, it talks about why other regions, they don't have any reactions, they just enjoy. But here you will go through enjoyment and suffering, both. So the higher realms, the Swargalokas and all, they enjoy. So just imagine you're doing so much, you're chanting, you're reading, you're doing so much. We are all doing so much. And if you fail, definitely we'll go to heavenly bodies. So even in the case of in the Mahabharata war, there's a discussion that they go back to heavenly bodies, because even the side of the Kauravas, they will also go back to heavenly bodies, because it's a war of the righteousness, and they're all in present of Krishna. They might not be Krishna consciousness, but they will definitely go back to Swargaloka. So there is always an advantage and disadvantage of taking up this process. Okay, but it's the most advantage process, because in Krishna consciousness, when you go through, if you have stopped somewhere, you will again restart from their point only. For example, if I have done MBA, or if I have done law or something like that, and if I take birth again, I cannot say that if I remember, okay, suppose if I remember, I cannot say that in previous life I did law and I did MBA, all that. So please give me a job. So nobody will, accept it. They will laugh at you. Okay. There are cases of reincarnation. For example, there's a famous case in India which happened. Okay. I'll talk about these two cases. So this girl was born in a very remote village, and the other town which she had taken birth in the previous life, that was very far away. So she remembered. I think her name is Swati Gupta or something. So she remembered her previous life right from the young age. I think 2 or 3, when she started talking, she was mentioning about I was this in previous life. My name is this. I have a husband. She started talking weird. So parents thought that she is kind of, in children, they just playing around. They hear so much from the elders, so they'll be talking like that. But when she was insisting that going on repeating these things, they were worried. So that's when they some of them recommended that this child is a little different from others. So let us investigate. So they actually took her to that place what she was mentioning. So they went to that town, and she remembered everything. This is the shop I used to buy. This is the place I used to go. So she was showing everything. So when she was around 5 or 6 age, so she was taken, and she knows the route, and she took to that house where she was living, and she showed her photo also. So she had died under some mysterious circumstances at a very young age after the marriage. So she remembered everything. And she met her husband also. She met mother-in-law. She remembered the brother-in-law. So, and she said that go on top. In my room, there is, the suitcase. So there are my belongings. You can just get those things. And exactly they went and they got all these things. So it seems like it's a movie kind of thing. Okay. We see only these things in movies. But there are case studies like this of reincarnation, where people were able to remember the previous activities. Yeah. Even if you see the story of Gajendra Moksha, the elephant doesn't remember exactly his previous life's activities, but he's somehow remembering the mantras. So he starts glorifying the Lord. Okay, he's not exactly remembering all the mantras, but he starts glorifying. So that remembrance came to him because of his previous activities. He was a very good pious Brahmana. Okay, he was meditating. So he remembered those mantras. So that's why he was saved from the clutches of death from the crocodile. Yeah. So you have to go through these stories and go through these case studies to understand better. So this is very important. And another story was famous in US. You might know that in World War, we have seen that World War II, Japan had attacked US, and they had very nice fighter plane jets. So in US, there was a boy in around 1990s or 80s. Okay, so he right from the young age, he was not exposed to any television or something. He was remembering everything that he used to call himself of a captain. He used to play around like sitting in a plane and killing people. So parents thought, as a child, he would just go, doing his normal play. But he went on, repeating those names of his colleagues. He was mentioning that I was born in this particular city, and I used to be a captain. These things. But mother was worried for some time. Then again, they would forget. Play child is playing. But when he came to a certain age, so he remembered everything, and he was going on insisting that he wanted to go to that place. So then he was talking about how he was killed. So he was killed in a crash. Okay, he was bombed by the Japanese. So he was on a Navy ship. He was using this fighter plane. So he was bombed by the ships by the Japanese in the sea. So he was telling all the instances which happened. He was able to remember everything what happened that day, and he was mentioning his colleagues also. So of course, for unfortunately, some of them had passed away. But then when they went back to the journal and everything, and the reports where they had how many were there in the contingent, in the the Air Force. So he remembered many of them, and he was talking about his boss also, admiral's name. He had not studied because a 5-year-old or 4-year-old cannot speak like this or take out the names like this. But he was telling everything. So this case actually became very famous for the reincarnation theory. Okay, so this is very famous. So that's how he remembered everything, and he how he died. Okay, but this is a long gap. If you see, he died in around 1942 or something like that. But he took birth again as human again in 1980s. I don't remember the exact year. Okay, so there is some connection here. Okay, so there are a lot of theories like this about the reincarnation. Not everyone is fortunate to remember, as I said earlier. We don't know what we were in previous life, but we are fortunate enough to get connected to our spiritual practices. That's why you're able to, people you see, they're very much inclined to reading Srila Prabhupada books. They're very much inclined to worship the Lord. They're very much inclined to chant. Some people we see that even after attending so many classes, so many days they keep going to the temple, still they'll be struggling to coming to the 16 rounds chanting or reading a book or singing a bhajan or trying to worship the Lord. But whereas some people, they just come and within a month they catch up so much, they get advanced so easily. There are different degrees, okay, because of our inclinations, our attractions. Okay. Of course, now what we are doing, the percentage where we stop, we are continuing that. But the point is, we have to get serious. Okay. We cannot just wait for another birth because it might take us away, again, decline ourselves. Okay. We don't know how long we will stay in this material world, how many species will take birth. And certain species, if you see, they have a very long duration. What if I become a tree? Okay, a big tree like a sequoia tree. Sequoia tree are the tallest in the world. They are like 250 feet. Yeah. And they live for very long years, 300, 400 years. And even not only on this planet, you might take birth on some other planet, you might live for very long ages. So certain lives, it's like thousands of years you have to live. Certain trees, you have to live for very long. So what if I lose this opportunity? Right? So think on that point of view that once you decline to the species of animals, it's very difficult to come again to the human. Just 2 days back, I was reading about this. Prabhupada mentions from the scriptures that he says that there is cow, there is a lion, and a monkey. Okay, so these three forms, the next birth, they immediately get into a human, not necessarily on this planet. So a cow takes birth in the next life as a human once it dies, and that is how actual theory of evolution. Okay, not the Darwin's theory of evolution where he says that the monkeys were there, the apes were there, and slowly their shapes started changing, and we became humans. Okay, it's not that. Theory of evolution according to the Vedic scriptures is you live in a body, you give up, and you progress to the next body, next species. So there are 84 lakh species in the entire creation. So we don't know which species will take birth and how long we are going to get involved in that species only. Are you able to understand? So it will take very long time. Krishna talks about that in Bhagavad-gītā, that the one who is very sinful, I cast them away into the hellish planets or hellish life. They degrade themselves to animal life. So, so just like you have the ranking system in the education or in the society, you get promoted, or sometimes people get demoted. Okay, so promotion means what? You're going next higher level. So this human birth is one opportunity where you go to the next level. You become a devotee. Okay, so you have to start the practices. And human birth is very rare. And upon reaching this stage, the human birth, you easily go back to the Godhead. Because in heavenly planets, they are just enjoying and they want to take birth as humans. Okay, the hellish, they don't know about themselves. They the living entities or the even the subhumans who are there in the hellish planet, they don't want to get into this because they are against the Lord. They are called as atheist asuras. Okay, so there is a hindrance. They don't want to come in the higher planets. They don't have the chance to get a human birth. But in human birth, what is happening, especially in the Bharatavarsha, and especially in this region of this planet where Lord always comes. If you see most of the incarnations, most of the spiritual activities, most of the great acharyas, if you see world religions are there. Most of them took birth here. Why? Because this is Punya Bhumi. That's why it says Bharata Janma Hoile Janma Sarthakari Kara Upakar. Manushya Janma. Okay. So this verse is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this Bharata Bhumi especially is very auspicious because taking birth itself is a very rare, and taking birth here as a human is very great. And what is the duty of the human life in Bharatavarsha? Para Kara Upakar. Upakar means we have to benefit others. So to give benefits to others, we should be benefited. So we should be very stronger in our spiritual practices. That's why if you see Srila Prabhupada, he was trying to build the society. He was trying to make Krishna consciousness people. He first started in Jhansi, okay, the League of Devotees. It failed because Indians were too much busy in imitating or following Western culture. So that's when he decided that let me go to the Western country and get Western devotees, make them devotees, because we are so busy now. Also, we are so busy in following everything Western culture. We always want to imitate America or the Europeans. We are because they are advanced in materialism. So he went to America, he made devotees, and when those devotees came to India, it was a bang, boom. So in India, you see now, there's so many hundreds of temples, there's so many followers. Okay, and all over the world, of course. Yeah. So that's the mode Srila Prabhupada had, that he wanted to make everyone devotees. Okay. So he wanted to make sure that in this life itself, you go back to Godhead. You don't have to suffer in the future. So that was his mode. Okay. So he stressed on these things, that you have to regularly practice your daily reading, chanting. In fact, if you read for 1 hour, 2 hours every day, and if you read, you chant minimum 16 rounds, offenselessly, with concentration, focus, and listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Okay, these will definitely take us back to Godhead. Of course, we need to be in the association of the devotees is very important, because serving of Guru is more important than Krishna. Krishna himself says that worship of my devotee is greater than myself. Okay, that he tells Arjuna. So it is very important that we worship Guru and then Krishna. So that's why if you see in our ISKCON temples everywhere, we first show anything, the Aarti item or offerings, anything, we have a small, the Guru Parampara photo. So we go through a channel. Okay, we go through that inclining towards the Lord. We show everyone so they can offer. I don't have that ability, or I don't have that, what do you say? So we are not so great that I can go directly to Krishna. I'm not so great. Okay. So the only immediate person who can benedict me, who can give me Krishna consciousness, bhakti, is my Guru. Okay, so that's why even other sampradayas also, if you say Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya or any other sampradaya, the Guru Bhakti is very much prominent. Without Guru, you cannot go to Krishna. That is what is mentioned. Okay, so I end my class here. It's more than 5 minutes. Okay, so we can stop here, and we can come back next day. So for continuation of classes. Hare Krishna, all the devotees.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.